All right. What's going on, everybody? So today is going to be a little bit different. Today, we're going to be sitting down with a man whose story is not just going to inspire a lot of you, but it's also going to confront you. It's going to force you to ask, like, who you really are when the world is literally trying to destroy you and bury you alive. And today we've got a guy named Greg Kelly, who I'll let him share a lot of his story. But at a young age, he was kind of branded with one of the darkest labels that you can put onto a human being. And he's overcome insurmountable odds, and really his testimony and his story is going to impact a lot of you guys today. So just listen in. And Greg, you want to go ahead and just feel free to introduce yourself to the guys.
Yeah, fellas, what's up, man? JR, thank you for having me, brother. It's a privilege. It's always an honor. I love the work that you do. I also want to ask you, I've been following the page for a while. I've been following the community for a while. I love everything JR posts. It hits so home. It's relevant. It gives you that reminder every day as a man on how to conduct yourself, how we can be better servants to our family, our community, ourselves. That's the most important thing, is we must take care of ourselves before we even think about taking care of anybody else in our lives. So thank you, JR, for having me. And I have a question before I talk about myself. And
Okay.
I want to talk about you first. And I've had this question. Maybe I haven't followed along enough, but why do you do what you do?
That's a good question. Short answer is I feel called to help all the men that were stuck in the same types of problems and issues that I dealt with as a young man. And I was lucky enough to have men come into my life and provide mentorship and guidance and leadership to show me how to change my ways and rewire my belief systems that were causing me to self destruct and self sabotage all of my success that I should have been having and wish I had in my career, in my finances, in my marriage. And I just see I wasn't aware of it until I started posting videos on social media. But I see how many men that are out there in today's world that are just hurting and struggling. And it all boils down to they just weren't taught what they should have been taught to become good men.
Hmm.
That like it
Yeah.
just didn't happen for them. They didn't have, a lot of them didn't have fathers. And if they did, their dads were never taught either. So like, how are you supposed to win if you don't know the rules of the game?
Right.
So our whole, mission and our that the effort that we're putting out there is like we just need to train guys how to be better. And the more good men that we have in this world, the better it's going to
Hmm.
be.
Yeah, that reminds me of a lot of kind of something I live by. And I try to, you know, project out into the world with every man that I encounter and every relationship with a man that I have in my life is if you change yourself, you're able to change your family. If you're able to change your family, you're able to change your city or your community, and then your community, your state, your nation, a world. And it's just that ripple effect, you know? It's that beautiful ripple effect of um, understanding that it all comes from the self first. And I'll talk a lot about my faith too, man.
Please.
A lot of men, dude, they think they could do it all by themselves, and a lot of men think that they're God, dude. Like it's quite crazy. You know, I got out of prison, man, and I wasn't in there long enough to 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 be completely institutionalized. But I got out, you know, I went in as a teenager, as well, not a teenager, I just became an adult, but I went in with an iPhone 4. They had the iPhone 7 when I came out, and it was just a lot had changed in about 4 years. And one thing I've seen just a little bit is how I'm sorry to say it, it's just it's crazy. Maybe I was forced to learn how to be strong. And I got out and I was like, man, where are the men? Like, where are the strong men? I went in when like this technology boom and this weird kind of okayness to be feminine as a man started happening. It was like the turning point from 2013, 14 to 2017, and it was like, I don't know, it was like the explosion of TikTok, and it was the explosion of like, I can start wearing these things that girls wear, and it's just like, I don't know, man. It just, I had a lot of questions when I got out of prison,
That's
about.
so funny. That's like I never even thought about that. Where like you come out and you see the world, this dystopian future world that we're living in right now. You're just like,
Yeah.
what happened while I was in there?
Yeah, I didn't have social media. I didn't have a phone. I mean, I didn't have Netflix. I didn't have anything, dude. And I'll talk about the good side of that. Any terrible circumstances you go through in life, when you're going through a really crappy season of life, not, seasons. I like to say chapter because seasons like to come back, but there's times where you have chapters in life, and when that chapter closes, it closes, and you're trying to get as much as you possibly can and learn as much as you possibly can in that crappy situation, because it will serve you later on when the season comes back. But it comes in a different form, right? It comes in a different form. Like, it might have financial struggles, and you'll learn how to live within your means. And then when you learn how to be disciplined to live within your means, you might get a sickness, and you might be disciplined to fight for your life when your health is at stake. And it's just simple things like that. And so, um, yeah, man, just to kind of give you a background of who I am.
Yeah, let's go into like the story because
Yeah.
I mean we're not going to get into all the details and everything. You guys can go watch the full story on Hulu and some of the other streaming platforms. It's called
Yeah.
Outcry, right? Emmy award winning docu series. Highly recommend everyone go out there and do that. But let's talk about what happened for those of
Yeah.
the people that don't know.
Yeah, if you want to learn more of an in-depth version of my case and my story of what had happened to me when I was a teenager, a soon-to-be senior in high school, with a bunch of full ride scholarships, a beautiful girlfriend, a bright future. I grew up in a household full of brothers, a loving mother, a father who worked very hard. I was very fortunate to have mom and dad in my life. A lot of men don't. And so I'm very fortunate to have those. And they were great role models. Dad had his issues. He drank a little too much, and he never, thank God, put his hand on my mom. Never raised his voice in a very terrible manner to my mom. I was very fortunate to not witness that. It's a lot of men deal with that, and it projects on how they treat women, and it's terrible. And so I yeah, I grew up in a loving household, and I grew up with older brothers that picked on their little youngest brother, me. And I thank God now that I'm an adult, that tough love. And by the way, I'm the fittest out of all of them now. They're just fat, dude, and they don't care about fitness. They don't care about, they do, but I'm the most in shape, and I'm bigger than them, and I'm stronger than them. And it's because I choose to get in the suck every single day. And yeah, I love my brothers. They were there for me through my hardest season of my life. And what I'm about to explain next, and for time purposes, sometimes podcasts can go hours because there's so much that had happened in the 5 years of this wrongful conviction. So I'll give you the synopsis version, of the main points here. So when I was it all started when my parents got very sick, both of them. I was in high school. I had just received a bunch of full rides. I've had a girlfriend now for a few years. I figured out football was my way out of Leander, Texas. I figured out that this was the thing that was going to get me to college. I wasn't smart. I had dyslexia. I had struggled. I struggled tremendously. I can't say I wasn't smart. I just didn't know how to do academics. I struggled, and I was made fun of it. I couldn't read till I was in the fourth grade. I couldn't read fluently, until the fourth grade. I had to step out, to alternative class, and a lot of you men who are watching this, you might know what I'm talking about. It's that dyslexia class. You know what I mean? And you have to, like, you have to go back into English class or whatever English class you might have in elementary school, knowing that you're late because you had to go for the first 15, 20, 30 minutes to a special class where you have to do exercises to kind of get up to speed with the kids in that class. So I struggled with bullying. I was a fat kid growing up. I was chubby. And so, but I was an athlete. I was very competitive, and when I got into high school, when I hit puberty, man, I just shot up. I mean, I shot up like 6 inches. I leaned out. I looked like a high school senior when I was in eighth grade. And so I'd like to say that might have gotten the eyes of my now wife, but she, I met her in eighth grade. We went to a water park down here in Texas, and I was tackling her in the wave pool. We went with a bunch of friends, and she liked that, and so she started digging me. I started digging her, and we started dating going into high school. So fast forward going into freshman and sophomore year. Sophomore year, my dad has a terrible stroke. My dad's always been a huge supporter of me in sports, football, everything, track. He was a car salesman, so during his breaks selling cars, he would come to the track and watch me practice with a McDonald's cup of coffee in his hand, standing right outside the fence, cheering me on. Same thing with football practice. That's just the type of dad he was. He lived through his son all the time. His sons. He did it for my brothers too when they went before me. And so I out of like my junior year, I had started on the varsity. I had been on varsity since the sophomore year in football. But going into my senior year, I was going to step into a big leadership position. All the captains had left. I had been awarded captain, one of the captains in the football team. So my dad suffered a terrible stroke at the beginning of the end of my sophomore year. And so he was just struggling. It was bad. I mean, he put him in a hospital, put him in a rehab center, and he was doing constant bouts of getting better, getting worse, getting better, and then, boom, another stroke hits, and it's messing with me, as an adolescent teen. But we're continuing to move on, and I'm visiting him. I'm still playing ball. I'm going to school. Well, going. Going into my junior year, I had already made a best friend. His name was Jonathan. My wife and I, or my girlfriend at the time, were going strong. And my mom gets diagnosed with brain tumors. And now both of my parents are about to be gone, MIA out of my life. And I'm still in high school. My brothers are too old and they're out doing their own thing in the world. They're not around anymore. I'm the only one left in the nest. So who's going to take care of me? And I had a best friend at the time. His name was Jonathan. And, people mistake this all the time as big and little brother. He looks a lot like me. And I poured a lot of my time and my effort into him because I loved him. He was my best friend. And I was welcomed in by his mother. And I had already been at the house multiple times, and it was kind of a place where, when you're a kid and you're in high school or, you're going through childhood, you have that friend's house that everybody's always at, right? You're playing video games, you're chilling, you're eating Hot Pockets, right? You're shooting the crap. And so his house was that house. And so his mom was super cool, PTA type mom. And she welcomed me in with open arms. Now what she did for a living was she ran an in-home daycare. And so it was a few kids, during the day in the downstairs area. And yeah, a lot of like us were in and out all the time, intermingling, right, with her during her work day and stuff like that. And so she welcomed me in. She said, "Hey, I know what you're going through, Greg." Her name's Shama. And they're a Sri Lankan family, American Sri Lankan. So she said, "You're welcome to stay here. We're close to the high school. You got a lot going on. We don't want this to alter your future." Like, and I like to say she loved me. Like she treated me as her child. And so, I brought that to my mom and my dad, and they agreed. And so I lived with them. Lived with them for a whole year. Now that during that whole year, a lot had started to change for me. Like I was starting to get college like offers. I was starting to get a bunch of letters. And I was over the moon about it. Like college and opportunity, man, it's awesome, you know? And I started taking football a lot seriously. Started taking my grades a lot seriously. I put in every effort that I can to get better as a ball player, as a student. And I got to see my girlfriend every time it was convenient. And honestly, she was the same way, man. She grew up with older sisters that, you know, refined their craft as much as I was trying to. They were dancers, dude, and they grew up with a mom who was the director of the high school dance team, a dad who, if 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 there was an epitome of a man, dude, to follow by, David Anderson, my wife's dad, is that man. He was a leadership coach at the high school. He was just that guy that everybody respected because he had something good to tell you, something encouraging to tell you. He was like a father figure to a lot of guys in his leadership class that he taught. And a lot of times, like when I'm kind of you know mingling around the city around here, they recognize me. They recognize me half for what I went through in this area, but also as David's son-in-law. They're like, "Man, dude, you're lucky,
Mm-hmm.
brother. Like you're lucky. I wish I had that
So,
type of father figure in my life."
so you're in this place in life as a young boy that like every young man would want to be. You're like, I got this. I got my girl. I got, the offers are pouring in. I'm in this Rocky montage video of like working my butt off to like become the best version of me, and this chaos is going on with my parents, and no, that's not a good part of the story, but like you're overcoming all this adversity, and
Mhm.
good things are starting to happen, right? You're seeing it all line up, and then you staying with this family. So like what this is where like the big piece of the story begins, right? I'm assuming from this. So like
Yeah.
what transpires from that with the daycare and everything?
So living in that house, Jonathan and I, we're still, going strong as friends, but I'm starting to see him, and this is an important part. I'm starting to see him change, and he's starting to bring people over that were kind of shady, uh, that I knew that did drugs, that stole, and I'm like, what's going on? And I remember confronting him about it, and he was dismissive about it, and his whole attitude started changing, man. Like whenever you see a good person start to become rotten, like before your eyes, that's what I'm seeing. And uh, I'm so like selfishly focused in my world that I don't I don't like talk I don't continue to advance trying to help him. And so I just see him before my eyes get terrible to his parents. He started bringing drugs over, getting caught with drugs. Um, it was too much after about 10 months of living there. I knew that I had already got an offer from UTSA. I got an offer from Rice University, of all places, Rice University. It's like an Ivy League school of the
Yeah.
South. And my grades were just good enough to be a football player there. Um, and then a couple other offers to smaller schools, and I'm not even a senior yet. So my goal is UT Austin. So I'm just working my butt off to get there, right? So then it gets to a point, man, where call my mom after she's getting better. I say, Mom, when can I come home? When can you come home? I want to come back home. And she says in about 3 weeks. In 3 weeks. So I'm okay. Okay, I'll come home in 3 weeks. So I end up moving out the end of spring, early summer of 2013.
So when is the day? When is the moment where like you're confronted with the accusation? Like what was that
Yeah.
day like?
So moving out was very important to this because this is a big part of proving my innocence. I had moved out at the beginning of summer,
Hmm.
and during the summertime of 2013, they have these summer strength and conditioning camps, and it's for, high school football players during the summer. And I was walking out of the weight room and I got a bunch of text messages, a bunch of calls on my phone from my brother. And this is kind of weird. This normally it doesn't happen. So I call him back and he says, "Hey, where are you at?" And I said, "I'm just leaving the high school." He says, "Hey, I'm on my way to Shama's house. There's an accusation that one of the kids got sexually assaulted at the house." I said, "Wow, like, no kidding." And he says, "Yeah, and don't come to the house." I said, "Why?" I'm coming right now. That's terrible. He says, "No, man, your name is attached to it. And I'm trying to get over there and get down to the bottom of it. Just go home." And then he asked me, he's like, "I gotta ask you something really quick, man. Did you do anything to a kid?" I said, "No, absolutely not." And he says, "Well, just go back home and I'm gonna go find out what's going on." So he does. He goes back, he goes to Shama's house, and I am like left with a big question mark. I actually started immediately driving towards Shama's house, and because now this is serious, dude. Like, people ask me all the time, when did you feel like your nightmare started happening? It's whenever your name gets attached to something so disgusting, and then your head just starts flooding with just terrible things. And now I'm like, I'm a kid and I haven't lived life enough to be able to control my emotions. So I'm calling my brother back. I'm like, "Dude, are you serious right now? Like, are you serious?" He's like, "Yes, just go home." So I end up going home, and my brother ends up calling me back and saying, "Yeah, man, I just got in with the kid's father. The kid said that you put your penis in his mouth." And I'm I'm like, What? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, this is disgusting." And he's like, "Look, man, I don't know what's about to happen. He might be going to the police." He said and this is what's really crazy, JR. And this is like, he says, "Maybe we can figure this out outside of going to the police." Like, this is what the father said. And I'm like, at first, right, this is very, very weird because I'm sorry, dude, if I'm a father and I don't need to be a father at that very moment, but my kid truly said that something happened to him and
There's
like,
no figuring things out. Like,
no, no, like the only way
there's
that
no
I'm not,
deals,
no, dude,
no
the only way
deals
I'm
to be
not,
made.
no deals to be made, and the only way I'm not going to police is if I'm going to take action in my own matters. Like,
Yeah.
as a father, you never know, right? Like, I'm a father now, and I have a little girl that's the most precious thing in the world, and she tells me that another person violated her. I like to say how much of a man of God I am, but I haven't been tested like that, bro. I haven't. And now I'm on the other side of this now for years now. And I don't know what's going on half of the time because nobody's telling me anything. Now I realize my brother's shielding me from a lot of things because I'm still
Right.
a teenager. Um, but I'm gonna speed up this next part because there's a lot of stuff, and thank God I'm writing my book right now. And you know, everybody that's watching, if you want to know every experience and every feeling and every emotion that I've ever felt during this process, get the book. I'm turning it in February. It should be out next summer, or this coming up summer. But um, now what happens is what transpires is if you know anything about an accusation, there's a process that happens, right? You get accused, then the police gets involved. And in that situation, I'm like, absolutely, man. I trust the justice system. I trust police officers. I trust detectives. This is America, right? We have a liberty. We have justice. We have due process. Like, this is the safest, most wonderful country in the world. And I'm a patriot, dude. I love
Do
America.
do
But
you
we have flaws.
think do you think like having that just blind faith trust in people, in the system, in the authorities, do you think that was a mistake looking back where it was like we should have been more guarded, we should have like done something different there?
Brother, yes. Like I am telling you right now, I am a naive kid thinking that the American justice system is absolutely perfect and that they're detectives, they are saints, they are priests. I think you might have to get priesthood before you become a detective, because why would you just target somebody and not do an investigation? Like why would somebody not do an investigation? Why would somebody not go to the place and take pictures, interview people? Why would why you surely do believe that a detective, if he gets assigned to a case, he would actually call and schedule a meeting to speak with the assailant that he is investigating. You would think that he would do that. None of this happened in my case.
So what did happen that led them to have the idea? I already know what happened, like how they got the idea that it was you, right? But how did they get to the conclusion of like it was definitely him, other than the words of, the accuser?
Yes, so what happened is again a lot of confusion because no investigation's being done. This detective's name's Chris Daly. He was a detective with the Cedar Park Police Department at the time. He gets assigned to the case. Now, it took weeks for the father of the child to finally go to the police. It took weeks. I think he was hoping to settle this thing outside of the police at one point, and he realized that we weren't going to do that because I told my brother that let it go to the police. If my name is still getting drugged through the mud here, then allow an investigation to happen so I can get this away from me and I can continue
Right.
on with life. Cool. So he does. And the detective ends up never trying to sit down with me. The detective never, again, like everything I said. And people ask me all the time, why? Why? Like, what investigation did he do? He didn't do any. And why would he not do one? Because this guy was absolutely dumb, dude. He was a stupid person who, here's an example of leadership. Okay. If you watch the documentary, the chief of police of that police department gets interviewed. Okay. And his name is Sean Mannix, and I'll bring him up later in this. But he absolutely sounds like a buffoon, dude, on the whole thing. You could not believe that he was actually a chief of a police department of a booming city. The way that he was speaking about me and the people who loved me and the people that were supporting me, and not just supporting me, but supporting the truth, supporting the Constitution of you need to do an investigation. And how did he respond in this whole situation of everyone who loved me and knows me and has followed me as a kid? As he called everyone that loves me and standing up for me and going to war with me on social media cult followers. And I was a cult leader. Because in his eyes, how can you support a pedophile? How can you
Right.
support a sexual, predator?
This
And
this is
so,
this is this is the really dangerous piece of the puzzle of like one of the weapons of the basically the game plan to destroy a person, to destroy a man in particular. You don't need evidence anymore. All
mm,
you need is to make the accusations loud enough, whether it's gossip through the town, which happened for sure, and then it goes to the next level of now it's in the news media. Now you don't even need the news media. If you can get it to be seen on social media, once enough people have seen the accusation, they'll all just assume it to be true.
yeah, dude, and that's why I live by the proverb where it tells us to guard our hearts because out of it comes the issues of life. If we are gullible enough to believe that a mugshot on the local news or social media, when you're just scrolling and you immediately comment when you don't know the situation, the story, hang the fucker or hang the bastard, then you are you have masters, dude. Like you have masters. You can't independently just think for a second, hey, I'm not going to judge this guy until I know the facts, until I see the evidence. We stopped asking questions, man, as men, and we started becoming followers of the media, of these people that run our life, man, and ultimately kind of make us into weak men. And I, you know, I don't do that anymore. Like I stay away from when I see a lot of mugshots, dude. When I do the research, I do the research, but whatever.
Yeah, well, it's very difficult to do research, to think, to come to your own conclusions. Right? It's very difficult to do that. That's why most people just judge. They just take what
mm,
other people are saying and just repeat it. Right? They
hmm
parrot all of the talking points. Whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, you see it. Right? Whatever side of the beliefs you have, you see it. Because it is not easy to go in and do the work of like reading and learning and coming up with your own
yeah,
opinions. It's a difficult thing to do. And it's like what you're saying, like that's a thing that good, strong people in general will do. That's a thing that leaders will do. But a majority of people in the world, I truly believe this, and I don't think there's any way around it. A majority of the people are not leaders. A majority of the people are not winning in life. A majority of the people are not doing anything that they should be doing. They're just going along with the masses. They're inside of the herd. It's always been that way, and it will probably always be that way. And my hopes with conversations like this and what we do in the work that we do is that we can find the people that want to escape that, that truly want to not be a part of the herd and show them how to
yeah,
do that. But we also have to come to terms with the reality that everyone else is going to be doing that.
dude. It is childlike behavior. It is childish behavior when you operate like that. Because when I was a kid, and I would read the comments of people calling me a pedophile, a child molester, when I'm rightfully not, and I'm trying to prove that I'm not. And they're calling me all these things, and these are grown men, dude. Like these are fathers that are getting on little comment feeds trying to bash and terrorize a kid. And when I was a kid, it ate at me, man. But now that I'm an adult, and when I was going through this as an adult, and I was being forged in the fire of being painted something I am not, when I had to do the hard work, man, to reclaim my life, to reclaim my dignity, to reclaim my confidence in myself, it let's just say this, JR, you can't out mindset, dude, the practical requirements that it takes to be a freaking man. Like you have to actually go out there and do the work and sit in the fire, dude, of 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 a bunch of crap being thrown at you and yelling at yourself in the mirror positive affirmations, I'm a man, doesn't freaking do it. So I one thing I've realized through all this, and I'll get back to my story now.
Well,
Um, yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead, and then I think when it comes to the story, I want to go into some pieces of it where it's like, all right, for everyone listening, and everyone can go see the full story, but like you guys kind of get what has happened, right? These accusations come up. There's a lot of bad players involved. There's a lot of people that don't do their due diligence. There's basically everything is against you. Like
Mm,
you're just getting railroaded by the system. And we see this happen so many times with guys in our community as well. There's guys right now that I had conversations with this week that are up against false allegations.
mm,
These allegations, yours is unique and different, but it's all the same, where it's like there's literally no evidence to be shown. There's actually a lot of evidence to prove the contrary to that, but
yeah.
it's not looked at. And all that is done is like, all right, well, now we're gonna start the process of convicting you of this crime that you never committed. And if you don't have the right lawyers, if you don't have the right team in place, if you have never been through a scenario like this, you have no idea that the system is so intricate that one wrong move, one wrong decision, one signature of a document on your end sends you down a path that you wish you never would have gone down. So it's so vital to have these conversations, because there's guys in my community right now that are going through this. And what I want to ask of you is like, you talk about rebuilding, you talk about going through that. Like, how do you not just give up when you found yourself in this scenario where it was very clear that no matter what you did, no matter what you said, no matter what you tried to bring as far as evidence to the table, there was nothing that was going to stop them from putting you behind bars? Like, how did you not just end your life and like give up on everything at that point?
Good question. Man, when other people, it's different when other people believe in you. It's different. Like it's you got so many people counting on you. I get emotional, man, every time I freaking talk about it. Um, when I was going through all of it, JR, I wanted to end my life. I was looking for ways to. And but man, I have this weird I don't know, dude, sometimes I get caught in my own head about how complex God is in my life. And it's more so because we have this innate wonder on, if there is a good God, how can he allow such bad things to happen to you in life? And I was stuck, man, for so long in that insanity, right? And I started growing cold. I started growing really cold, and that is where it starts, dude. Is we start growing cold to this world. To now, I believe God is a good God, and that we live in a broken, flawed world. The more I got to know who Jesus is in my life, the more I did the work myself, because I'm an absolute fool, dude. If I go through this life experience and I allow it to harden me, and I come to the conclusion that God did this to me, and I realize that sitting on this side, right, of being exonerated after going through all of it, man, I'm more in awe on how much healing I'm receiving the more I seek Christ in my life. And so it all starts, man, by accepting Christ in my life, getting to know who he is and making him my best friend through all of it. And that, as corny as this world wants it to sound now, that is the answer, is to humble yourself before your creator and think that everything you're going through right now, man, there's already somebody that's already gone through it. And his name's Jesus. And he has the answers. So when I'm going through all of it, JR, and I'm sitting in a medical cell after I get convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison day for day as a child molester and pedophile, life's completely derailed. My scholarships are gone. I have nothing to live for now. I put my whole identity in, men, if you're listening to this and your whole identity is in your work, or your whole identity is in your fitness, that's as much as fitness is important to us. But if you choose going to the gym before going on a wonderful romantic date with your wife or your girlfriend, then you're in the wrong. As much as you need to start prioritizing what your identities are. And fitness and football to me was my idol when I was a kid. It's what I put everything into, when in reality, it was supposed to serve me in my life, not become my life. So when I put all my eggs in that basket, man, of being a ball player, and I'm a kid, dude, rightfully so. How are you going to tell a freaking 16-year-old to make your identity only Christ? And then from there, you get to do all these other wonderful things. Like, kids don't know. Give me a video game. Let me go chase girls. Like, you know what I mean? So, but thank God, dude, I've had all these wonderful characters get put in my life. I'm gonna go back to my father-in-law, right? I got to know him as a man, and I got to see the example of what a man is, right? Through him, through my father, through my coach, through all my coaches, man. We had a powerhouse football team, and I remember it's the prologue in my book of of my experience going into the varsity football team. And I got to talk about how after I got trucked a few times, I got blown up, I got made fun of, hazing, all that. At the end of that practice, I sat there and a coach told us, Coach Tony Salazar, dude, he's the best head coach, high school head coach in Texas. His name, he coaches the Westlake Chaparrals. They're out of here in Austin. They're one of the best teams in the nation. He was my defensive coordinator at the time. He sat us all down, or we all taking a knee in the field, and he says, as much as we want to create good football players, we want to create better men. So I got to be able to be in that program. So when I'm sitting in a 5x9 medical cell and my life just got derailed and I'm nothing, and the identity of a football player is stripped from me, I'm gonna tell you this one story that has completely changed my life, dude. And I talk about it a lot in my speaking engagements, and it's whenever I'm sitting in a medical cell and I am on suicide watch. They're thinking I'm gonna kill myself, kind of want to, and I'm in a smock. I'm in a turtle man suit. It's this padded suit, dude, and I'm sitting on my bunk, and I've been in there for days. And I'm just looking around my cell, seeing like where I can hang myself. And I'm just getting tormented. And I get a knock on my cell, and he says, "Kelly, these are your necessities. I'm getting off a suicide watch." And a towel, drops in, a blanket drops in, some toothpaste drops in, a bar soap, and then a Bible drops in. And I've got nothing, dude. I got nothing. I don't have Netflix. I don't have a phone. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't think I have one anymore. I got nothing, dude, except for my necessities. And I'm sitting there and I start chuckling. I'm like, a necessity? What's this? I had never opened a Bible in my life. I grew up Catholic. I was going to church, but I never really intentionally tried to get fed by this thing. So I opened it up, and the first thing, dude, I turned to was John 16:33, and this is the verse of my life. For in this world you have trouble, but in me you may have peace because I've overcome the world. And try to tell somebody whose life just got derailed. And here's the thing, man, is I was just making it about me the whole time. And the thing about Jesus in my life, man, as much as we try to push things away, Jesus has always been the type of person that says, come here, and I will give you rest. I mean, and so I'm continuing to read, right? And I remember a trustee knocked on my door as I'm reading the word, and he says, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And this guy was nice. He was a nice guy. He would always give me coffee. He didn't really care. Like, I don't even know if he knew what was going on. He doesn't watch the news or anything. Just a nice old man. And he would get me like dry freeze coffee all the time. And he's like, "Are you reading the word?" And I said, "Yeah. I don't even know where to start on this thing." And he says, "Well, where are you at?" I said, "Oh, I'm in this book called Genesis." He says, "It's all right. Just read like the first half chapter of that, and then just go straight to the New Testament and get to know who Jesus is, and get to know who he is, what he did, what he came for, who his family is, everything he taught, and then read the Old Testament, and it's like a history book." I said, "Cool. I'm glad I did that, because in that cell I read the whole Bible. And I had nothing else to do." Now, reading it and studying is the two different things, right? Reading it is more so for distraction, but studying it, man, studying is where the real seeds started becoming planted in my life. Now, that is one. Two is my first week in jail, as I'm reading the word. And this is a ripple effect that happens, JR, and this is really important, okay? Is whenever I'm in that cell and there's a TV down the hall. Normally it's kind of faint, I don't hear it. But this time, as I'm reading, I hear this chant happening. Free GK, free GK, free GK. Dude, there's hundreds of people outside the county jail rallying for me. Rallying for me, dude. Like, people that most of them, I don't know who they are. And I remember after that rally, I'm like, what's going on? And my girlfriend and my family come and visit me, and we're sitting in this meeting room. I said, what was happening? I heard Free JK. He's like, we were holding a rally, and more people started coming out. There was almost 1,000 people outside that county jail, Greg. I'm like, for me? And I'm like, good God. And and then like when I'm talking to them, Ben, and I'm like, whoa, people are calling me a monster and everything. He says, it doesn't matter, Greg. It doesn't matter. Stop listening to those people. We're fighting for you. And that's when I came to the realization is I need to stop focusing on the negative things and I need to get ready for this fight. And because ultimately I came to the conclusion that I would never, never want to listen to the people that I would never take opinions from or advice from. So now I'm only focusing on my family, the people that love me and what they're telling me. And so everything else to the wayside. I got nothing, no focus of mine. So I'm locked in on this fight with my family now. It's almost like I stepped outside of my circumstances and I'm focusing on the fight. And dude, there's something beautiful in a fight. There's something beautiful, man, for going round for round in something, going the distance. And maybe that's why that's the reason why I do what I do now. As being an ultra runner, I run ultra marathons and I do things that a lot of people chalk up as impossible because I am who I am, man, in the fight. When I do things that suck because I truly believe Jesus meets us there in some wonderful way in our life and he exposes something in our life that is hindering us and he teaches us something that we need to learn in the suck. But we're so comfortable, dude. We're so freaking comfortable as men. We're so comfortable to go pull a freaking 10-hour shift, 12-hour shift. In reality, you're escaping freaking life, dude. You're so comfortable to work more and try to chase money, but in reality, you need to be home with your family. You're so comfortable that you want to go and get a 6-pack of beer before taking your daughter to an ice cream trip. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe because at one point when I was a teenager, dude, I started realizing as I started to become a Christian in prison, I gave myself to Christ because I was part of the fight too. Man, Christ was the ultimate fighter. And man, when I became a Christian, I wanted to become a father more than anything. But that dream was far away from me, if not maybe will never happen. So now as a father, JR, the other night, I posted something this morning. The other night I was working out. Last night, I was working out. I was doing bench in my garage, and I was just filming myself getting a bench. And like, I like to document my life now after a wrongful conviction, and I'm just doing a set, dude. And my little girl she hangs out in the garage with me. She has her gymnastic stuff, and she's only 17 months, dude. And she's a freak, dude. Like, she is so strong. She was pushing a ladder yesterday, like a full, like 50-pound ladder. She was pushing it across the garage. And she was just waiting for me to get done as I'm benching. And I sit up and I see her smiling like this at me. And I like open my hands and she comes and walks in my arms and I'm like, and you know, you have those moments, man, where God just kind of flickers in your head, everything you had gone through and how this is your finish line. This was your finish line. So she's my daughter, but she's also my trophy. She's my prize because I wanted to be a father and I didn't know if we would ever be be parents. So, man, when you ask me go back to your question, why'd you ask me what made me not give up? It's this, dude. It's this finish line. There's always, dude, a finish line. There's got to be one, you know, different chapters of our life. Now, whenever to be a better man and the pursuit of that, there's never going to be a finish line. And that's why I continue to run ultras and I continue to write my freaking book that I've been writing for 2 years. And it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, dude. Because stepping back into your trauma, you know how I think of it, JR? I think of it as that time of my life as a dungeon underneath my house. and I have to go down there and I have to open that dungeon door, drag that demon out by its freaking hair, beat the living crap out of it, put it back in the dungeon, go back before I go back upstairs. I say I'll see you tomorrow. That's a lifelong pursuit as a man, bro. The,
Yeah, it's something that has to be done. It's not easy to do, and I can tell there's still, there's maybe places where it's like there's so much that has happened to you. There was so much that was wrong. There was so much that these people should have done differently in that whole process, and you can feel it when you bring up these guys' names. You're like, I'm gonna just call, I have no problem calling you out. It's like
Mhm.
I smile when I hear it because I think it's funny to see. But you're absolutely right, man. Like having to go back into like reliving all the details and writing it out and putting yourself, because to do what you're doing, you got to put yourself back into that headspace of like, where was I when this was happening? Like, what was that like? What was I thinking about? What was I feeling? And I think part of what makes you so strong as a man, as a person, and you being able to run ultra marathons and have the perspectives that you have and be able to think the way you think and believe the way that you believe is because you've been through really hard things.
Yeah.
You don't get to be a good man, a strong person, if you don't go through hard things. There is a yin and a yang to the way this world is built by our creator. You don't get to be a good man if you haven't done bad things and made mistakes and been on the brink of destruction. If you do not have the ability to do chaos and destruction, but choose to do peace and creation instead, you're not a good man yet. And a
Yeah.
lot of the guys, you know, a lot of our guys out there, we get stuck in this shame loop, and we need to stop punishing ourselves for who we were. We
Hmm.
can't control what already happened. We needed those things to happen anyways. That shame, that guilt, that's the conviction you'd never have if you didn't make those poor choices and receive the consequences of those choices. I wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be here today if we didn't mess things up along the way.
Hmm.
If we didn't have massive failures and screw ups. I always look at the story of the prodigal son, man.
Hmm.
He wasn't restored for being perfect. He wasn't celebrated for being safe. He became the man he became when he hit rock bottom and saw himself clearly, right? He
Yeah.
couldn't return home until he lived first. He couldn't choose the
Hmm.
Father until he chased everything else and felt the emptiness of what that gave him.
I love
And
that, dude.
and you, where you're at right now, the reason that you've had the success that you have in your life, it's easy to say it now, right? It's easy to look back and be like, man, all that stuff had to happen. All that I like, you can look back and be like, man, that happened for me. That really happened for me. God put all of this in my life to create this version of me where now I get to go out and share my story with other people. And just by me sharing my story, it fucking changes their lives. It
Hmm.
inspires them to get through the hardships that they're going through. It gives a lot of guys listening to this right now perspective of like, man, I'm going through something similar, but I wasn't accused of being a child molester. Like I didn't have that darkness on me. I didn't have the weight of that on me. And I think it's so cool, man. It's so cool. And the reason that you are the way you are and who you are right now is because you were able to make it through those things.
You know, JR, there's a point in a man's life, and men, you need to take heed to this. There's a man moment that happens to you in your life, and if you don't realize it, you can't build from it. So whenever I was a sophomore in high school and my dad had just got that stroke, A couple of buddies of mine at the time, they're not buddies in my life anymore because they are kind of like the epitome of show me your five friends, I'll show you your future in 5 years. Um, just dummies. Um, we went to Kohl's and we swapped out some shoes in the shoes department, in the department store. I stole some shoes as a sophomore in high school. I was becoming a good football player. My name was starting to go around as the next starting safety for Leander High School. And I stole some stupid shoes. And we got caught red-handed. The loss prevention guy gathered us up, took us in the back room, showed us our dumb, stupid selves swapping out shoes. And when I was, you're talking about doing dumb stuff. Whenever they, the police came, and I'm still a teenager, I'm still a juvenile, but they could still take me to the detention center, still take me to jail. The shoes were like 60, $70. They were over $50. My dad came and this happened before his stroke, but my dad came, dude, and talked to the police officer. And what's so crazy, dude, this happened like weeks before this stroke happened to him. And talked to the police officer, and he said, my son here, he's got a lot of opportunities, and this would just devastate his opportunities going forward. Kind of just told the cop of what I have going on. The cop was looking over at me, with that look. And my dad's looking at me with the same look. And he walks over to me. He said, "Get your ass in the car." And I'm like, I'm ready, dude. I'm ready to just get laid into, like, about my dad. And we're driving home, and it's quiet, very quiet. I'm in the passenger seat. My heart's beating, and I'm like, just do it. Just do it. Like, what are you going to say? Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did it. And he looks over at me, and he pulls over, and he starts, like, crying. I said, "What's going on?" Like, "Why are you crying?" "I'm crying." He says, he says, "Greg, you need to," and then, like, hits the steering wheel. He says, "You need to freaking figure out what type of man you're going to be in this world." And that's all he says. And we drive home. And that's all he says. And when we get home, he goes in my room. He says, "You're going back to that Kohl's department store, and you're going to, how much, do you have any cash on you? You have any money?" I said, "I don't have any money, Dad." He says, "You tell them whatever you need to do to make up for what you did. And you figure out what type of freaking man you want to be in this world." My dad ends up having a stroke a few weeks later, exits my life. That's one of the last things my dad truly said to me that stuck with me. My dad's now dead. And now what happens is that's not my man moment, man. That's a teaching moment. My man moment is after all this happens to me, I get falsely accused. A year later, a year after that, I get indicted to go stand trial. No evidence against me. Painted a monster. There was a grand jury, dude. I went through grand jury selection, and I'm getting painted I'm getting painted like Ted Bundy, dude. Like, there's a whole story about how crazy our judicial system is and what ADAs and prosecutors are allowed to do. And they're putting my mugshot next to Ted Bundy's during jury selection in a grand jury room. And that is wrong, dude. So wrong. A day later, as I'm about to stand trial, you know what they do, right? They do the whole plea bargain deal, right? So you don't stand trial. Will you accept this deal? I'm sitting in a room with my family. And my attorney comes in. They say that the district attorney's office wants to offer you 10 years probation. Now, JR, I'm facing 25 to 99 years in prison. Tell me what's wrong with this picture. 10 years probation.
They're just going to let you walk out into the world,
Do they truly believe I'm a pedophile?
right?
Do they truly believe I'm a child molester? Or are they trying to withhold their 98% conviction rate in this county? Because 98% conviction rates in counties, they're not those cases that go to trial. They're the cases that they win and they get a guilty verdict on. And if you accept probation, do you know what's going to have to happen? Is you go in front of everyone you love, in front of a judge, and ultimately in front of God, and say you did something you did not do. I'm in a jury, I'm in a little room, and they offer me 10 years probation, lifetime sex registration, sex offender registration, a certain amount of fines, a certain amount of days in jail, like 30 days or something, and I would be free. This nightmare would be over. I just have to accept the probation. They just have to take the easy road. And I look over at my mom, and I already know the answer in my head. I'm just trying to confirm it with my mother, and she's trying to stay strong. And she says, "No, like I don't think that's right." And I was like, "I'm right there with you, Mom. No." And so
Man,
they come.
this is so good because this decide the man that you're going to be in so many areas of our life. I was just talking with one of my best friends this morning about this. It's like, how easy is it for you to get to bend or give up your morals and your values and for you to know what is right. And any man who starts starts business, you're going to get opportunities. All you and I, we get opportunities all the time. And in the beginning stages, if we weren't the man that we are right now, we would happily take the money for things that we don't really believe in. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And guys in relationships will see red flags in the women that they're dating and see that she doesn't line up with the values that he has, but watch how easy it is for a young man to compromise his values for a beautiful woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this applies to so many different areas of your life. Keep going on this, man. So like you're in this scenario where
Because
they're trying to get you to break it, right? They're trying to
hey,
get you to just lie to yourself.
the deal gets sweeter. I get offered 5 years probation, lifetime sex registration, no jail time, a certain amount of fines.
Hmm.
And now it's hard. It's hard. It's so hard. Because now I'm thinking of what I'm being charged for. And I'm getting presented two doors, dude, when I go to trial. One where I get to go to paradise, and the other one where I get to go to hell. And I'm getting a a way out ticket of not having to choose. And I look over at my mom, and she's crying, and I know what she's about to say. She's saying, "Mijo, just take it. Just take it." And I see my mom break, and I'm starting to break. My mom. It's your mom, dude. And I said I need to go to the restroom. I need to go to the restroom. I get up. I just need a minute. And I go to the restroom. I do my business. I go and wash my hands, and I look up in the mirror, and I see my father. And he tells me, "What type of man do you want to be in this world?" Oh God, dude. I was. I said I want to be a good man. And I go back in. I say I'm not going to do it. I'm not taking it. I'm going to go and fight. Now I go to trial, and after 7 days of no evidence against me, and by the way, my hell that I went through, it wasn't just one child accusing me. It was a detective getting another child confused and strengthening the first accusation, and that child ends up recanting in trial, saying, "I never said that. I was in a tough situation," and he wouldn't say it that way because he was a little kid, but it implied that there was coaching involved and the kid's story didn't add up, right? And so the jury was like, clearly that this kid was just brought in to strengthen the first case, and so that kid recanted, and I get found guilty for the first kid, and yeah, I lose. But good men, man, lose sometimes. But it's how they respond, and it's just these battles, man. It's just these battles each and every day. It's choosing to run back into war when you might die, dude. Like you might die. Like I think of all our brave men that, especially in like the World War II era, that Hacksaw Ridge was one of them. Like I'm watching this movie, dude, and I'm seeing like, dude, you're gonna die, but they still go and run into war. Those were good men, dude. Like those were good men, and I get found guilty, and I uh I get I get presented with another freaking deal, and this time it was a sentence myself day for day for 25 years, or give it back to the jury that just convicted you, and you can get any number from 25 to 99. Those were exact words from my defense attorney, by the way. Yeah, that's the look that I now get. Like, what the
So
heck?
once again, they're trying to get you to admit guilt. They're like, here's the deal now. You can get up to 100 years, or because that's what's on the table, like we got you, or you just sign this paper, say you did it, and we'll
Waive my
only
right
give you
to
the
appeal.
25.
No,
That's it. The
I
whole time they're
I'm
trying to
given
get you to
guilty.
waive that right.
Right. So now this is important. So I waive my right to appeal because I tell my parents, my family that I can't make decisions anymore. I at that moment believe I did the wrong thing. I made the wrong decision. Now hindsight 2020, I'm now looking back on it. And what I'm about to tell you next in here in the next few minutes, it's very important as a man moving forward in life. But whenever I get presented this opportunity, I give it to my family and they ultimately decide that I would get out at the age of 44. But I have to waive my right to appeal and appeal everything in this trial, which means everything that got put in that trial, it's no longer on the table. I can't use it during an appeal process.
Mm.
But they never said anything about new evidence. And the good thing about going to a trial with a piece of crap defense attorney who was never in my favor in the first place. When I tell you about my case, there's a lot of things wrong with it, not just on the judicial side of it, but on the defense attorney side of it too. She was completely conflicted, ineffective, because she previously represented Jonathan McCarty's family. And when you watch the doc, you'll kind of get to a conclusion of who actually did this crime. But it's very important to understand that when I got offered this opportunity, I went through a trial where the evidence of my innocence, because there was never actually advocacy for me, was never presented. Thank God. It was never presented
Mm.
because
Wow.
because it
So
would have been
so
off limits.
basically, the worst thing that could have happened that condemned you to being guilty was actually also the best thing that could have happened.
So when I ask you this question, JR, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Okay? You, as an individual, would you rather go to trial and get found not guilty and walk away not guilty, or go through hell and be completely exonerated?
Of course, my fleshly self is like, dude, just not guilty. Please just
Yeah.
declare me not guilty, because that's a battle, and it's like that's enough of a fight that I think I could handle, you know?
The reason why I asked that, man, is because as much as I wanted to be found, this is pick your poison. This is pick your poison, because when I got found not guilty, if I got found not guilty, then there was always going to be doubt. There's always doubt. Think of all these cases, bro, that
Mm,
that people get found
mm.
not guilty, but what's stopping somebody to go on social media and call them a name,
It's
right?
such a good point. It's such a good point, because if you were found not guilty, maybe you just had a really good lawyer. Maybe
Yeah.
took advantage of the system. Maybe you found the loopholes, or you manipulated the witness, or you had enough money to fight it, and the corruption was on your side.
Yeah.
So I get what you're asking now. Go ahead.
So now I get found guilty. Now I get found guilty off of a trial that's a complete sham. There was no like proper representation to prove my innocence, because when you're in trial, ultimately what the job of a defense attorney is, right, is to defend their client and cast doubt. And a DA's job is to prosecute and convict. So, but a lot of times, mediocre attorneys or attorneys that are conflicted, right, which Patricia Cummings, I'm a name dropper. She was. When you watch the doc, you'll get a taste in your mouth for this woman. She was conflicted. She previously represented, now who we believe did the actual crime, previously represented his family, right? In sexual assault cases. I didn't know any of
Mm,
this. That's very important. That was very important. I didn't know any of this.
yeah.
I was recommended to her by Shama, Jonathan's mother.
Oh,
So when you watch the doc, dude, you're gonna go through a big roller coaster of being pissed off a lot. And so I get found guilty. Now, there was never work to be done that actually proved my innocence. And that came later on. So I go off to prison. I go to a maximum security prison.
man.
Um,
How do
and
they treat someone like you in there? Like
they
someone with your conviction.
they hurt him or kill him.
Yeah.
And clearly I didn't die. But yeah, I was tested a lot. And I had to fight a lot. And yeah, I had to do my fair share of fighting. And fighting is what saved my life. Um, being in prison, there's a there's kind of like this thing that happens where once you come in, you get something called a heart check. And any men that are watching, you know what I'm talking about, have been down to prison, is you get tested, dude. Doesn't matter who you are, how big you are, how small you are, what you're in there for, what case you have, you get tested. Because in prison, it's all about race. It's all about skin color. It's all about, and the definition of what a man is in prison is if you can apply violence, and if, you know, you can hold your ground if something pops off. It has a lot to do with the physical of everything, right?
It's the
Zero,
most primal version of us,
right?
like tribes and just nothing but violence and combat and survival.
Yes, and it's maybe why they got put in there, but because it has little to do with the actual emotional intelligence, the mental fortitude of what a true man is, right? The standards, the values, the morals that he upholds himself to. Nothing to do with that. Um, but when I got in there, they saw that I looked white, and I'm not. I'm half Hispanic, half white, but I kind of look more like my dad. But so a white gang approached me, and you know, on their radar, they didn't know what I was in there for. They probably thought I was in there for something like drugs or robbery or something, right? And so they didn't ask me. And what's crazy is in prison they don't ask anymore. Like they don't ask.
Mm,
And the reason why is it's kind of shielding themselves from, if we don't know, then we can't get in trouble if we beat your ass. Because in prison, dude, they're giving life sentences if you handicap a sexual predator. Like if you threaten a sexual predator's life, you're getting years on your bid.
mm.
So they don't ask. And but they do say, let's hit the red door. The red door is a blind spot. It's an exit. It's an emergency exit. And when you hit the red door, no matter how big you are, you're never going to win, because You fight one dude, and then they backdoor you with another dude, and a lot of times now face is off limits, and they beat the living crap out of your body. And they ultimately want to see one thing happen. One, you fight. Or two, you catch flight like a bitch. And which means you catch guard. And if you get labeled a bitch, that's labeled, you're labeled that for the rest of your stay. So I remember an old guy told me this. Like an old guy told me this, dude. Like in the county jail. They're like, youngster, you're going to do some fighting. You're going to do some fighting. Letting you know this right now. Okay? You yoked. You look athletic. And you better pray to God they don't know what you're about to, what you're in there for. But you're going to do some fighting.
I mean,
I said,
had
oh
you
God, dude.
fought much as a like all of us like scrap a little when we're young kids, but like, did you have any experience or any training or any preparation to like
No,
be?
dude, I just
Yeah,
I loved physical. I love being physical. I played
yeah,
football. I love to hit. A lot of my highlights are big hits. So like I don't mind violence. I don't mind scrapping. Um Now there's a difference, dude. Like, a testament
it's
of a good
different.
man. Yeah, a testament of a good man is knowing that he can produce violence but still doesn't do it. And so like I didn't want to like I don't want to look in for any trouble, bro. Like I just like leave me alone. I'm fighting my case here. Like I'm not supposed to be here. This I step into a world that I was never supposed to know. Like I wasn't on that track, dude. But somehow I woke up in it. And now I'm having to take my reality head on. And what I'm about to tell you next, dude, applies to any man watching this. Sometimes you might wake up and say, how the hell did I get here? How did I get here? And sometimes most of the time, actually, it's self imposed. You made those decisions. But sometimes life isn't fair, dude. It isn't fair. And when the ugly side of life comes knocking at your door, you have to make a decision if you're going to go 10 toes down and go chin to chin with it and say, let the best man win, or you catch flight. And I had to learn that in real time when I had to continue to move forward regardless of the circumstances that got brought before me. So when I was in prison, I had to do the fighting. I thank God that I signed up for college, dude, right? A part of who we are and where we become in life is kind of, hold on a second, it's kind of compiled by the decisions we make. And I signed up for college because I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be educated. I made a decision, dude, and this was kind of like becoming a Christian in the process of it. I wasn't going to allow this place to make me into a worst or a terrible person. And I wasn't going to allow this place to make me a worse man than I came in, right? I mean, if you've watched Shawshank Redemption, it's funny, man. I love Andrew Dufresne. He says this one line that I do not want to do. And I watched this movie in prison of all places. I can't believe they let us watch it. But he says, "Man, I came into prison as straight as an arrow, and I'm leaving as crooked as a snake." And I love Andy, dude. He got out and he fought for his innocence. And but I didn't want to become crooked as a snake, right? Because I'm coming back home to a family, bro. I'm coming back home to people that love me. I'm coming back home to a girl who's standing by my side. This is all the things I'm choosing to believe in the middle of hell as I'm coming back home. There is a finish line, and I'm on the I'm on the hardest ultra marathon that I'm ever gonna do, and that's why I signed up for a 200 miler. I have in August, dude, through the mountains of Washington, starting Mount St. Helen, climb three peaks, finish 200 miles. I'll do it in 4 days because it doesn't compare to prison, dude. Being innocent, I've already experienced the impossible. Now I believe that everything is possible, and I want to go and I want to go and hurt, dude. I want to go and feel this pain, and because I know that there's a beautiful lesson being taught in it. And I got through going to college, so I get put into a ID unit that's kind of it's a high security, maximum security unit called the Win unit, and I was there for 3.5 years. Went to college, started doing some factory work, Now, what I'm about to tell you next, JR, and this is important to all the men that out here that think that the things that you do in life don't matter. Everything you do, dude, matters. Everything counts. How you choose to use your time, right? It's funny, man. Time is the only currency that we do not know the amount of. We do not know this in our life. We don't know how much time we have, but we spend it every single day doing dumb shit or doing good stuff. And I got time, right? In prison to do stuff, right? I got time to go to school. I got time to go and hit the gym, to go and, make some friends with people I never thought I would make friends with, dude, ever. Like good men that made terrible mistakes and they got caught. And man, if you're watching this, you know you did some dumb shit that put you in prison and you just didn't get caught. So,
Yes. Yes, I
so
think every man would agree with that. Like we just didn't get caught.
yeah, so don't think that a lot of everybody in prison are rotten pieces of crap, dude, because there are good men, dude, like good men, men that would lay their life down for you, men that actually know what brotherhood is, like in prison. Because in prison, bro, like good men seek out good men, and it's all we have. It's all we have when you get put on a 2-month administrative lockdown and you're freaking shooting out kites down the runway, down the freaking runway, hoping to get a letter from your buddy so you guys can just write each other and say, "What's up, man? What's going on?" Those are good men, dude. And by the way, a kite is just it's like a fishing letter, right? You put a letter on a string and you pull it and it give you one back. So it's it reminds me a lot of Paul in prison, dude. The Apostle Paul. Like he's writing all these letters and he's sending them out. And people are reading them and we're reading them. Holy crap. And we're living our life by them. Like, and we're quoting them, right? We put them in our freaking bio. And these are letters, man, made by a man in prison. Men in prison, man, they're valuable. And so yeah, dude, I get through all of that and everything you do counts and matters. So I learned how to woodwork while I was in prison. I learned how to use power tools. Little do I know that these things that I'm learning in a place I was never supposed to be was going now to serve me and create $1 million business for me and my family. That's crazy, dude. That is nuts. Like, I started an axe throwing company, product company, back in 2020 when I lost my personal training job. And I went axe throwing. And this was after I was exonerated, dude. After I was exonerated, I'll get to that. I'll briefly just explain how I proved my innocence really quick before I get to that story. So, 2017, I'm going to college. Something drastic happens, right? I'm already learning how to use power tools. I learned a lot about woodworking. I work in a factory. I'm just trying to get better every single day while I'm in prison. Then I get a letter in the mail by the college I'm going to in prison called Lee College. They serve inmates and allow them to have opportunity to go to college. I get a letter saying because of your charge, you're going to have to wait 5 years or do 5 years in prison before you continue college classes.
Mm.
I'm already 40 hours in, right? This is the beginning of 2017. I'm already 3 years in prison. And it devastates me, dude. It devastates me. Now, the fight of my life is still happening on the outside, and I'm getting denied in the first appeal court. That's a fight in itself. But now I'm having a fight within myself, and I'm back down into the slums, and I'm remembering how much important things in my life. Once it was football, and now it's seeking out an education. It gets stripped away from me wrongfully again. And now I'm like in a very deep rut. And this is the perfect example before everything gets better, bro. Before God just completely just shows up in your life, the devil's going to give you one last little one of these right here. You know what I mean? I I I get a letter saying you get kicked out of college. And now I'm like, God. I'm literally like thinking the worst. Like I'm having a bad conversation with God now. I'm not studying anymore. I'm turning away. I'm walking away. And I remember my buddy Thomas Horner, who's one of my best friends. He comes in my bunk. He says, "What's going on, dude? You're acting different." I told him what's going on. And that's when he tells me. He says, "Oh, dude, you're about to get ready for a breakthrough. What do you mean?" I said, "What are you talking about, dude?" He said, "Dude, this is it. This is it, bro. Like, Lando, you're about to hit land." I said, "What do you mean?" He tells me. He's like, "God's about to show up in a miraculous way." JR, I kid you not, dude. The next day, I get an attorney visit from my attorney. He drives down to Huntsville and he sits me down and he says, "Greg, your case is getting reopened." What? What are you talking about? He says, "I had a meeting with the new DA of Williamson County. The old DA, Jana Duty, she proved herself unfit. She withheld a bunch of evidence in a murder trial. She got kicked out. A new defense attorney came in. He's the now DA, and he never thought you should have got convicted in the first place.
Mm.
His name's
Mm.
Sean Dick." And the second day on the job, January 2nd, he had a meeting with me. Finally, after all these shots I tried to make at this ADA's office to show the new evidence of your innocence, I had to first get a meeting with him, and he did it. I couldn't get past slide 7 of my PowerPoint before he's on the phone with the Texas Rangers, saying we're going to reopen the Greg Kelly case. Man, before it gets better, man, Satan just gives one last little test. Thank God for men like Thomas Horner who reminded me of what good men do.
With that old DA, was there a lot of other cases that Dick like went into to exonerate people that she railroaded like this?
Yes, so I'm the only exoneree so far, but there is a lot, man. Like there's a lot. So that old DA, Jana Duty, um, she killed herself. She shot
Mm,
herself in the head
mm,
because the skeletons were about to start pouring out of that closet. She shot herself in the head down in Rockport, Texas, and so it's a nasty case, dude. It's a nasty
yeah.
story, and so there's a lot, man. And Sean's been trying to clean up house. Our county's very highly corrupt, dude. It has this old guard, right? It has this old like Texas West guard. Um, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Michael Morton case back in the 80s. There's a guy who got wrongfully convicted for murder for killing his wife and spent 25 years wrongfully convicted. Well, it's the same county I'm from. And
Mm,
there was DNA withholding evidence of blood on a bandana that wasn't his, was actually a well-known serial killer in the area, that wasn't tested, that was almost destroyed. Um, and his life completely derailed, dude. And I know Michael, we've talked. Um, but yeah, dude, it's sad.
it
And
is sad. It happens. It happens all too often. And you notice this like whether it's the big cities or the small towns. You know, I live in a I like moved back to my hometown after I got three little girls now, and we were like, let's get some help with this. So we moved back to this little small town for a period of time right now. And I'm walking through, like I moved back to my old neighborhood. It's like not a nice, super nice place, but this little town is. And um I kind of walk through in back into like this area of town where all of the more wealthy people live. And all of a sudden I start noticing like that whole area of town was actually developed by a guy who at one point when it was developed, he was the mayor of the town. And a majority of the people that live in this part of this little town that's very nice and secluded and big, beautiful homes, a lot of them either work for the town in some capacity or they're related to someone that worked for the town.
mm,
And so it's so funny how, and you know, I used to work in the world of construction, and you'll notice that a lot of the general contractors that are very successful happen to be related to people that work in government positions.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
there's almost no getting away from that. You know, where I'm from, it's very much known as like New York, Pittsburgh, Youngstown, where I am, Cleveland, Detroit, and Chicago. Those were the mafia like hotspots
Mm,
of our nation, and we're like part of that route. So the corruption everywhere. It's so easy to manipulate once you have people in these positions and you're giving them power. And it's like give a person power, give a person money, and it'll reveal who they really are. And a lot of people are revealing who they are. And with the information that is out there now and everything that we can do, we're getting to see that more and more.
yeah, dude. It's if you do not hold yourself by a standard by all costs, you will cave. If you do not derive or go to a well that continues to humble you, for me, it's my faith in Jesus, is learning what it means to humble myself as a man, to serve my family, serve like I hear all the time, man, like I'm willing to die for my family, but are you willing to truly live for them? Like, are you really truly willing to live for them? Like, because when it comes down to like putting, loving your children, first you gotta love your wife, dude. Like, you have to actually put forth your marriage before actually, as weird as it sounds, you're being a parent. Because from there derives being a great parent because you love your wife. So like, yeah, dude, when it comes down to that stuff, bro, like it's nuts. To go on back to my deal, my case gets reopened, dude, and I get bench warranted back to Williamson County. And what happens is it's pretty it's pretty crazy how quick everything happens because I'm in a hurry up and wait process in prison. Like 3 years it took to finally get to this point, 3.5. And I'm in this county jail now, and it's a totally different tune, man. Totally different tune. I The sheriff of Williamson County, it's weird. The sheriff at the time, he I'll tell you a quick side story. He was one of the old guards. He thought I should hang, right? But the truth does two things to people, man, right? It makes them super uncomfortable and it convicts them, or it steps on their toes and they retaliate. And I've started learning that a lot as I dig deeper into my faith about when Jesus spoke and he spoke the truth, people reacted in those two different ways, right? Conviction or retaliation. And this sheriff, when all this new evidence, because he sat in that same room that Sean Dick did whenever my attorney brought forth all that evidence to innocence to, and I'll tell you what that is here in a second. Um, and he was convicted, right? He blindly went into convicting me in his heart before actually seeing everything. We do that quite often, by the way, as people. We judge every single day, every day. Like we judge appearances, right? And we judge headlines. And he was one of those guys. But his daughter, throughout this whole process, right? You can learn a lot by your children. Your daughter, dude, his daughter was a teenager at the time, and she was part of like fighting for me. She posted on social media all this and that. And here he is at the time, a constable who was part of leading, kind of putting me in prison. And yeah, he sat down in her room and said, "You need to quit this. Greg Kelly is going to prison. This is a complete disgrace to me as a man, as your father, as my position here in this county. It's a disgrace." Now, she didn't stop. She goes on to college down here in Texas, and years go by, and he ends up seeing all the truth for what it is, and he chooses to lean into conviction. And before the squad car comes and picks me up in prison and send me back to the county jail, right? A bench warrant is literally getting transferred from prison to county jail for some type of matter, right? A lot of people go and get bench warranted from prison to county jail to catch new charges or go to a new trial or whatever. It's just a transfer. But this time, I'm coming for an evidence of innocence hearing. It's called a writ habeas corpus evidentiary hearing. And I'm going to now present this new evidence that he already knows. He's seen it. Before I get bench warranted, he goes down to his daughter's college, knocks on her door, sits down with her, and apologizes.
Mm.
As a man, to do that to your daughter, he's in the right direction. He ends up now driving, after having that, he welcomes me to the county with open arms, and he allows me to have a visit with my family for 8 hours. Dude, 8 hours all day. Just me and everyone that I love. No limit. 20 people came. And we got to sit down at a table, eat hamburgers. I threw up. I ate 4 burgers. It's a bad idea after eating prison bland food. My family was able to bring me food. And he said, how was your day, Greg? I said, man, I kind of felt a little free. And he patted me on my back. He says, good. And he says, man, if you ever need anything that I can do under my job, just let me know. And he's like, no, I can't do certain things for you, but there's power that I do have that I can do. And I was like, man, thank you. I appreciate it. He didn't have to do any of that. And here's the thing, JR, he ends up getting reamed for it by this county. Like, people are like, did we actually hire a sheriff or did we hire a best friend of convicts? Right? I'm like, no, man, you just hired a good man.
But
Like, you hired it.
yeah. It's one of these places like what a good man does is he does what is right, not who is right. And in that position in the earlier times, he was like he was practicing the wrong. He's like, I am right, right, and he didn't even know. He didn't know.
No,
But we all make these mistakes. We make these judgments and have these areas. So like to that is such a good teaching for all men and for all parents in general. And it's something that we preach is like apologize to your kids because we're gonna make mistakes. There's no way around it.
yeah,
We're not perfect. We're all people. We're going to mess things up. We're going to, you know, uh, get upset with them in inappropriate times for inappropriate things. And that's going to happen. So, yeah, it's such a great lesson to put out there for all the parents, man. Go ahead, keep going, and then we'll
my
wrap this thing up.
my father-in-law always says, he told me before, you know, I brought into the world his granddaughter, and he mentored me a lot, man, on fatherhood.
You
Cause
guys had a leadership class that he taught in school?
yes,
My
yes,
goodness, where was that for
yeah,
us?
we just do a little different down here in the South, man. It's just
Yeah.
it's I yeah, he told me something, and it sticks with me to this day. He says two things, and I always quote it. And every podcast opportunity I get, I honor him. And in a world where you're supposed to hate your in-laws, I love them. And I he says he said this one thing, and it's an epitome of what the sheriff did with his daughter. And children will never know what you say; they'll always remember how you made them feel. And that day, his daughter felt heard because him saying sorry, it was great, it was amazing. But the feeling, man, the experience of a man humbling himself down to his children and apologizing is something she'll probably put into his eulogy. It's a moment that she remembers for the rest of her life. That my dad admitted he was wrong. And that's so important because I got stuck, bro. I get stuck in all the time trying to be right. I'm a man. I'm a man, like I'm not wrong. And I'm like, no, Greg, you're dumb. You're dumb. And with Christ, you can be a little bit smarter. So, and then he says, nobody will remember ever. No, nobody cares about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
That's so important. He says that all the freaking time. And I'm like, And
It's true.
that's the type of man, dude, like that I was privileged to have in my life that taught me these things. Um and
And he
what
was
you're
he
making.
was also he was also a part of that circle that had your back during this time, right?
Yes, I'll tell you the story behind that too, real quick.
Yeah.
He was the first man, dude, that I went to after being accused. My dad wasn't available, but of all people, I went to my girlfriend's dad. Like, I needed to talk to someone, dude. When I knew that there was a warrant out for my arrest, I needed the first person I thought of. And this is kind of an encouragement, men, to be this person, right? I hope and pray that I am that man to somebody that when they're about to enter the biggest hell of their life, that I would be the person that they come to. I would love that. I'd be a reflection of every decision I made in my life. And I sat in front of him and I told him what I'm being accused of and what's going on and how I didn't do it. And I'm expecting this guy to tell me to get the hell out of his house. Like, who the hell is my daughter dating? And instead, he embraced me. He gave me a hug. And he asked me, "Did you do it?" And I said, "No." He says, "Okay, then I'm behind you." Man, when you get a man to tell you that, somebody you admire and someone you look up to, this is the importance, man, of the only opinions that actually truly matter are the people you would take advice from. So whenever you're going through a stupid feud of the comment section and somebody rubs you the wrong way, stop. Just stop. Close your freaking app and go hug your wife and kiss your children. Like, it's like, stop. And so, because they don't freaking matter. They don't matter. And yeah, I have that evidentiary hearing August 2nd. And man, dude, it was absolutely crazy. I walked in and I mean the whole courthouse is packed with people that love me, that support me, that felt called to be there. And what's so crazy, JR, is I came from a trial, the only trial I know, and it wasn't a trial, but it surely felt like one.
Hmm.
But I came from a trial where the DA was painting me out to be a monster, pointing at me, calling me a child molester, pedophile, all
Right.
this and that, trying to convince a jury that I was one. And then now I'm walking into an evidentiary hearing in the same courtroom that I was wrongfully convicted in. There's 12 different courtrooms. It could have been any one. But it was the same courtroom that I was wrongfully convicted in. And this time the new DA is absolutely grilling the detective Chris Daly 3 years later. And it's a bunch of I don't knows, I don't recalls. And then he says something, man. And this is what I want to get to. And I promised myself I'll circle back to this because this is very important. Whenever I ask you, JR, what your definition of justice is, just kind of off the top of your head and in your heart, what do you think it means?
Well, when I look at justice, it's typically, you know, bad things happening to bad people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's seeking the truth, right? It's
Yeah.
seeking the truth. It's allowing the truth to excel forward and prevail, right? And whenever this detective gets put on stand and he gets asked what the definition of justice after he just made a complete mockery of himself, right? With the new evidence saying, why didn't you look into this? Why didn't you look into Greg's cell phone that proved that he wasn't at that daycare the time that it happened? He was actually 60 miles away. The days that you said, the 180 days, because you made this big old window where Greg could have did this, because there wasn't a specific day that this kid accused Greg. You were lazy enough to say it could have happened in 180 days, but how Greg's team responded was that, okay, we'll account for every day through his cell phone. Thank God Greg kept his location on. and every picture he took, every text message he took. Well, there's forensic analysis people out there, dude, that can extract GPS timestamps of where you were at when you sent that text message, where you were at when you took that picture. Thank God Greg had his location services on, because those location services pinpointed to exactly where he was every single day at those 180 days, and Greg was nowhere near that place. Of all things, my phone exonerated me. And why didn't you look into this? Why didn't you confiscate Greg's phone? Why didn't you confiscate Greg's laptop? Are you that lazy? Just getting grilled. Then he says, lastly, Mr. Daly, before you get off this stand, what is your definition of justice? What does that mean to you? He stops, looks down at the desk like a big dummy, looks up and says, a successful prosecution. Well, shit, man, now we know where everything went wrong, don't we? You were taught that justice was a successful prosecution. What if the dude is telling you he's innocent, dude? What if he's fighting for his life, telling you he's innocent? And he's continuing to fight, because innocent people, they fight and guilty people don't. Is it still a successful prosecution? I'm just quoting what he said, dude. And oh man, dude, like I felt this. I don't know how to explain it. I wanted to get up and start clapping, and it was my story, you know. And I smiled, and I was looking at him like, you deserve this.
This is justice.
Yeah, you deserve this.
Right here, what I'm experiencing.
And and then the Texas Ranger gets up on the stand next for his questioning of the new investigation, and he gets asked the same thing. He says, Texas Ranger Cody Mitchell, what's your definition of justice? Because he's trying to make an example here. He says, well, it's seeking the truth. He says, thank you, sir. And dude, you want to talk about like vindication? You want to talk about what it looks like? You know what I mean? Like, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was like I was sitting in a Hans Zimmer concert, dude. It was beautiful. And I after a 3-day evidentiary hearing, so there's this Judge Donna King. She is I know her very well. She checks into my life every couple months after being exonerated. She literally texts me like every 3 months, just checking in. I don't know, maybe it's a reminder or something, but she's always in my life. This judge just became a judge. She was a defense attorney for years. She just became a judge. I was one of her first cases, dude. My evidentiary hearing was in August. She came in January. As a new judge, this is heavy. This is heavy, dude. Like, you're not supposed to get these type of cases until you're a senior judge. It's a lot. Like, you're commissioned with a lot. And thank God she was a woman of faith, because she word for word said in that evidentiary hearing, after she heard and saw everything, she says, I need 2 weeks to speak to the Lord. I was like, whoa. I was like, God put this woman in my life for a reason. And she literally said that. And next thing you know, 2 weeks later, like, I don't know, right? I'm in this position too, where there are a lot of things that have been said and it never really panned out. So it's just like,
right.
I'm not hoping. I'm hoping for the best, expecting the worst. Like, I'm continuing to live life. So I go back to the county jail. I go back to my cell, and I'm going through the same routine that I normally do. Life to me is a lot of routine in prison, and it's a lot of routine here in the world. It keeps me on schedule. It keeps me not wondering talking to the monsters that I still have to deal with. It keeps me on routine, And so, that routine, dude, was I woke up every morning at 5 a.m. I made a cup of coffee. I did my push-ups, my sit-ups, my air squats. I read my word for an hour. I got up and went to rec. I had breakfast. I came back in, and the Price is Right is about to be put on. Let's Make a Deal was at 11 o'clock. Price is Right, 10 o'clock. Let's Make a Deal is 11 o'clock. Right when the Let's Make a Deal was over, my cell door opens. And it's the sheriff of Williamson County, Robert Chody. The same sheriff who humbled himself before his daughter. Walks into my cell. He doesn't have to. He's a sheriff of Williamson County, dude. Like he's not, his duty's not to do this. But he wanted to be the one to walk up to my cell and tell me I have an attorney visit. Okay, cool. So I turn around, put my hands together, put them in the bean chute like I'm about to get handcuffed, like routine. And he says, "Oh, you don't need those today." I said, "What do you mean?" "I'm not going to complain." Cool. So we walk out, and we're walking down the hallway. Normally, I've only not been handcuffed once or twice before, and it was probably by mistake. Normally, they hold your shoulder or your arm, right? I wasn't getting held. And this was the first time small little things, JR, first time I felt a little free, was able to walk by myself without restraints and without somebody holding me. And I'm walking down a hallway next to another man like I'm just a normal Joe. And I hadn't felt this in years. And I'm walking down and I go to the attorney room, and there's a plexiglass, a small little 5x9 or whatever room, plexiglass. And I'm sitting there just kind of knees shaking, just tapping the desk. What's going on? What's going on? I've always felt this when I'm about to see my attorney, because I don't know if I'm preparing for good news or bad news. He walks in with a piece of paper, and he kind of has a grin on his face, like a little smile. And he slaps the paper on the glass right in front of my face, and he says, "Read that." And it says, "The immediate release of Gregory Raymond Kelly." And yeah, a flood of emotions started coming in. And I'm in disbelief. I'm in relief. I tell him, what do I do? What do I do next? Like, what am I going to do? And he says, "Well, dummy, go upstairs and grab your stuff. We're going home." I said, "Okay, can you come help me?" He's like, "Do you really want to take any of that crap?" And I said, "I got my Bible, and I got my coffee mug, and I got my ID that I want to go get. Everything else can just stay with the jail, and you give it to the inmates." I had like chock full of stuff, dude. I had like beef jerky, I had protein shakes, I had all this stuff. So I have some neighbors next to me that, it was an 8-man cell next to me of 8 guys who supported me throughout this whole process of me being in jail. Like, when I was going through my evidentiary hearing after I'd come back, I was high profile, so I was always on the evening news, and they would keep up in real time me going to to the hearing and then me coming back, and they're like, "Oh, we just watched the evening news, dude. You're on, I caught up with your case. It's kind of weird that you're coming back home and this is your home." And but I was like, "Hey, give all this stuff to them." And I remember those guys just like giving me a farewell, just telling me like, "Hey, it was really nice to meet you. Don't forget about us." And we often forget about the people that we went through hell with, man. When in reality, we should check in on them all the time. And I need to do that better. I write a few guys, but like in real time right now, I'm getting convicted for it. And I want to reach out to these guys. And yeah, I end up getting released. I come home, and now this is really important to me. When I got released out of that jail, I went down to the side of the jail where everybody walks out. And little do I know that everybody knows that I'm getting released before me. Everybody knows. And like, I don't know until the morning of, but they knew the night of. So my wife catches a red-eye flight from LA because she's a Los Angeles Chargers cheerleader. She's my girlfriend at the time, but she's still stuck with me. She wrote me. She visited me every day. She was going to ride with me, bro. Ride or die.
Listen, you're blessed, my friend. That is incredible. That's maybe one of the most incredible pieces of the story.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because last month I signed a life rights deal for a movie, like a Nicholas Sparks type movie being made about her and I and our love story. Crazy. Crazy, dude. Like it's nuts, dude. Like what an honor, you know? Like whoa. And Mario Lopez is going to be one of the producers in it. Great guy, man. Like Mario is the real deal. Like he watched my doc back in 2020 when it came out, and he reached out to me, messaged me, and he always, man, like he's just a fan. He's just, you know, when somebody's just like, when they don't need to be a fan of you because they're like up here, right? And you're down here. And it's like, he checks in on me all the time. Like, he doesn't need to do that. And I say, hey, man, you don't need to be talking to the low people like me. What's going on? Right? I'm just testing the waters. And he's like, dude, we're all the same. Like, I just had more opportunities. And, bro, that's real. That is real. And that's why I decided whenever I was checking in on the LA wildfires, what happened to him, right? And all that happened in his house. Thank God it wasn't near all that stuff. But I checked in and we started talking and all that. And I asked him, I said, hey, by the way, do you, I'm writing my book right now. It's going to be out next year. I need to start getting like a literary agent and like all this and that. Like I just need representation. Do you know anybody? And can you recommend anybody? And he's like, yeah, let me shoot you some guys. Let me ask you this, man. Like, what I'm surprised a movie hasn't been made about your story. Your story's phenomenal. I was like, yeah, there hasn't been. He's like, you know what? Let me call you back. And I think something sparked in his head, like, why hasn't there a movie been made? Did you sign your life rights away or whatever? And he's just that type of guy, man, that just wants to see you win, that just wants to serve you in your life, and that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, my wife and I are having this movie made, and it's in. They just secured my life rights right now, so the production should be starting in a few months and should be, you know, released next year. And so keep a lookout for that. My life's gonna be busy here in the next 2026 with all this stuff and the races and but yeah, man. Long story short, life goes 100 miles an hour after you get your life back, and I get exonerated back in you know, now whenever I got released in August 22nd of 2017, I wasn't free. I wasn't exonerated. I was out on appeal bond because that judge cannot exonerate you. What she can do though is let you be home while you continue to fight your conviction. So what happens is now my case goes up to the highest court of criminal appeals, which is called the Court of Criminal Appeals in Texas. I was in that court for 2 years. So I'm living now life out here as a convicted felon on appeal. Now supposed to be incarcerated, but like I'm living this weird alter reality of where I am out here in the world, but I'm not free.
Yeah,
So
you're in
like
limbo.
I'm in limbo. I got a dark cloud still over my head. And to give you insight, JR, of what that felt like is imagine being at home eating dinner, wonderful dinner with your family. Think of Thanksgiving dinner. And you're just looking around, everybody's having a good time, everybody's laughing, telling stories, making jokes, and you can't smile
Mm,
because there's a dark cloud over you because your worst fear, brother, is to be torn away from this yet again. Because the Court of Criminal Appeals could have done three things: send me back to prison, retry me, or exonerate me. Those were the three options. It was up to them of what was going to happen. So my case was one of the longest cases that they ever had because there was a lot of evil forces at bay, bro, happening. What's going on? Like it's, you know, this is what I truly believe is when the Bible talks about that our battle isn't against flesh and blood, it's against the spirit of the airs, the principalities of the airs. Bro, there was so much darkness happening that was getting shot to this Court of Criminal Appeals by my own defense attorney, like literally trying to orchestrate this way to get me sent back to prison so she does not get exposed of being conflicted
right.
because she was also grilled during that evidentiary hearing and what she was being grilled for and if it was proven to be correct would have disbarred her. So yeah, dude, it's a lot. And so 2 years later, I'm up in New York. We're living in Manhattan, bro. My wife gets an opportunity at the Broadway Dance Center to go take a course there on scholarship. I'm a personal trainer at the time, online. So I'm making courses and all that. And then next thing you know, the documentary crew is still filming the same documentary, Outcry. They're filming me in real time, making my documentary. And I tell my director, I'm like, hey, I'm going to New York for a while. This is going to affect this whole like meeting up every Wednesday to check the list to see if I'm exonerated or not, right? Which is, by the way, it's on a freaking website. Like that's how you find your fate is refreshing a website every day, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. I'm up in New York, and they said they're going to make the flight every week. Well, I'm up in New York on November 6th, 2019, is the day that I'm finally on that list. And if you watch the doc, you'll see the moment captured um, as routine Wednesday morning. And it comes down that I am getting relief granted on all 7 claims of my appeal, that I'm exonerated by all 9 judges in the state of Texas, which has never happened in the state of Texas without DNA evidence. Every judge declared me innocent, and complete relief. My life is back. It's over. The nightmare is over. And you see that moment in the documentary. And my wife, like, we have this inside thing where, like, if I text her a bunch of dove emojis, boom, 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 you literally see me doing this to my phone, then I'm free. Because in the story of Noah's Ark, the dove returning with the twig meant land, meant salvation, meant home. And I'm finally coming home. And she received it. And it was funny as she was about to go through this like really stressful class where she had to sing and dance at the same time. She's a terrible singer. So it got her out of it. She saw the text and she started running back to our apartment. You have to pass Times Square, so she's throwing her book bag, she's throwing her Yeti, she's throwing this, throwing that, like, and she's sprinting back to the apartment. It's crazy. It's all captured on the documentary, not the running part, but her banging on the door of our apartment and just tackling me and starts crying. Like just falls into my arms. It starts, I mean, just starts crying. And we start crying. And it's just a beautiful moment of relief of somebody waking up from a nightmare, of people waking up from a nightmare. It's a beautiful thing, man. And I rewatch it sometimes. I can't believe it's my story. I can't believe I went through all that. And so, yeah, man. Long story short, now she's my wife. I married her a few months later, and I got to play football again. I was recruited after I was exonerated. I had been preparing. In the doc, you'll see that I had been training with NFL guys through the process of hope and faith that I would see the day that I'm finally free and get to play football. I played a year at Eastern Michigan University out in Ypsilanti. I don't know how you do it, bro. The North sucks. Like Michigan sucks, man. Like,
Yeah, we're right there, man. I'm right along Lake Erie. We got a bunch of snow outside. It's freezing. It's not,
yeah,
it makes you a stronger man, you know. That's
no, it
how it
does. It
goes.
does. The cold did make me stronger. It's what's different about the North and the South is now the snow is beautiful. Don't get me wrong, and I like the change of food and like first time I had Tim Hortons, so it's first time I had White Castle. It's just we don't have those things down here, but man, the people are different though. Like down here in the South, it's just I don't know, man. It's just like a welcoming. It's a warm welcoming, and you got good people regardless everywhere. I mean, I met some really good people up north too. New York, there ain't nobody good there. You know what I mean? Like it sucks. but but no, yeah, no, yeah, no. Long story short, bro, I started that business, the axe throwing business with the skills I learned. I was the first one to bring the product to market. It's called Tomahawk Targets. Um, Sales are going crazy right now. It's a big time holiday item. Nobody was making the product, but everybody was doing the service. So I was the
Mm.
type of person that took the risk on just building the target in the garage and posting it, putting it on Etsy, and the rest was history, right? Like, man, if you're the type of person that wants to figure out how to break the matrix, got to take risks, man. You got to believe that you are putting something out there that you believe in, man. I heard something the other day. It was on a podcast, and it's like imagine how hard you work and how successful you work in a life that you hate. But imagine how successful you would be in a life that you love. Like, that's crazy, dude. And so, like, I've always been the type of person that, like, when I did things, I was always doing it to please somebody else or to please something that really didn't really matter, dude. And then now I get to pour into something I truly believe in, something that fulfills me. And not only am I kicking butt at it, but I wake up every day like a spring chicken, like I'm ready to work, like I'm ready to get after it. And I come home not dreading life, and I come home and I'm able to be everything I am to my family. And I get to ride those waves. And when the storms do hit, I kind of have a measuring stick now on how I can handle them. So
Absolutely, man. It's a
yeah,
beautiful story, man. I understand why they want to make a Nicholas Sparks type movie about you guys. Like it's truly incredible. It's a movie. Your life has been a movie, and it's been really great hanging with you, man, and getting to meet you and hear all these stories. I hope we get to do it again sometime and get to hang some more as you go along this journey because I only
yeah.
see more really incredible things to come along. And yeah, I just want to thank you and honor you for being so open, man. Like just openly weeping with us here and sharing all of the things that you shared. Like this is real deal, man. You're legit, authentic, incredible, overcoming story, and all the success that you have. It's been earned. So I just honor you for that, man. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything with us.
Thank you, JR. Fellas, thank you for tuning in. Please reach
Why
out to
don't
me,
you
guys.
give
And
a shout out? How can
yeah,
people reach you, and what are some things that are coming out? I know you mentioned a couple of things. Go ahead,
yeah.
give some shout outs.
So, yeah, you reach out to me on social media if you want. I try to check my messages every once in a while. But I try to, I kind of use social media a lot as just kind of posting my life after wrongful conviction, hoping that it can be an encouragement. A lot of people have encouraged me to continue to move forward in life. And so, uh, I truly believe that why we're put here on this earth is to find our gifts, and the meaning is to give them away. So if I could be that encouragement to you, please reach out. Um, and then on top of that, man, I mean, I really don't, other than you know, look out for my book, look out for the
Look
movie,
out for the book. Go get
look
some
out for the movie. Yeah,
tomahawk targets, man.
go get some
Got some
targets.
got some
Other than
got
that,
some
like,
deals for the holidays. Absolutely. We'll for
yeah,
everyone listening, we'll have links to all of Greg's socials, all of his businesses, all of the books, like we'll have links to all of that for you guys. So check it out in the description. All right, guys. As
peace.
always, stay strong, Kings, and we'll see you next time.